What is up, everybody? My name is James difiore, and this is Blackballed. Heinous Cases. This is a project that I came up with about a month ago. It's called Heinous Cases, and it was just going to be me and Rob Kaviklian, friend of the network, talking about some of the cases in Canadian history where a lack of justice was profound, either on a wrongful conviction or on, sweetheart deals for people who are murderers, things like that. But then someone called me and said, hey, would you like to do this? And I thought it was a really brilliant idea. Also really kind of brave. It's funny because I feel like all of the women that I've been having on my podcast over the last 2 months or so have been these extraordinarily brave people who are talking about the innards of their lives, often some of the most painful things of their lives as well. The guest that we have today is a friend of the network, a friend of mine, one of my good friends' wives, and everyone knows who she is that watches the show or the Dean Blundell show. But she has a very unique perspective as being the estranged daughter of a gentleman named David Morrisson, who was convicted of murder. And here to talk about that with us is Ashley Lindley. Ashley, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. This is an odd one for both of us, isn't it? Let's just get that right off the bat on the table.
It's, it's different for sure.
Yeah.
Something I've talked about before, but never on a platform.
And listen, like, we don't have to, I'm glad we did our pre-phone call because there was a couple things that I wanted to make sure that we could talk about and couldn't talk about. So we got all that kind of straightened out. But just so we can, like, I just want to, before I get into the actual circumstances surrounding your, should I call him your biological father? Is that a better term?
Sure.
Or
yeah.
The case that he, the crimes that he had committed. I just want to see if we can, like, start off by just sort of understanding where you came from. And I was wondering, can you tell me, first of all, where did you grow up, and what was the family dynamic like, say, for the first 10 years of your life?
I think I might have mentioned this previously, talking on the phone, but we had kind of like a backwards Jefferson experience.
That's right.
It was very moving on down as opposed to up. So I was born in Oakville, and then we moved to Burlington, and then we moved to Hamilton. So it was just like a solid decline. And I don't have a lot of memories from the first two places we lived. So by the time we landed in Hamilton, I was probably like 4 or 5.
Okay.
And that's when stuff kind of started getting weird, and I started kind of noticing that something was wrong, and that maybe we'd moved for a reason.
What was the circumstances? And when did you live with your dad? Like, do you have any memories of living with him? Or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah? Nothing like clear, but I mean, like, a couple of Christmas memories. There's definitely, like, photos of us together, camping, cottages, like, pretty normal stuff for the first few years of my life, for sure.
And so what age was he no longer in your life?
So that's where it's kind of fuzzy, right? Because things happened when I was about 2, but nothing happened to him for about 3 years after that, because the wheels of justice kind of turned slowly. So I was maybe 5 or 6 when he actually left.
Okay. So let's get into a little bit here. This is the case here. Okay, so on the night of November 25th, 1993, Stuart Weston, 43, and friend Blair Smith, 37, were walking along a quiet section of Burloak Drive in the vicinity of Upper Middle Road. Is that Oakville? Where is that?
Burlington.
Burlington, right. Okay. Upper Middle Road, when Halton police say they were confronted by two men in what was described as a drug-related incident. Weston and Smith were both shot. Weston died while Smith was paralyzed from the chest down. Former Burlington resident David Lloyd Morrisson and Robert John Pollock of Oakville were convicted of first-degree murder and attempted murder in 1998. And afterwards, your dad had he was, I think, called in to testify against the other guy. And what's interesting is that I just read it today, actually. Where is it? where your dad, David Morrisson, convicted killer, pondered perjury, was prepared to implicate an innocent man. He admitted that he was going to go on the stand and try to blame the murder on a person who had since deceased.
Nice guy, eh?
Well, the thing that I find interesting about it is that he admitted that he was going to do that. So he never went through with it. I found it
like
odd
I was going to lie.
I found it odd that
lie,
he would
but
admit,
I didn't.
I found it odd that he would admit that he was going to lie.
No, you know, if you've ever spent any time with somebody who's got like sociopathic tendencies, they will almost pretend that they're giving you a massive piece of information to cover up another bigger piece of information.
Right. But usually they go through with it, don't they?
I think he's one of those people that said so many things and told so many lies that he doesn't know what he believes.
Right. I was just... One of the main questions that I wanted to ask you, and I'm hoping it will kind of spark a conversation, because first of all, we found out that when I was talking to you over the last couple of weeks, we have kind of similar upbringings in a sense. Like there was a lot of turmoil and dysfunction and things like that. My stepmother was charged with attempted murder of her first husband before my dad found her under that rock that he picked up one day. And then, but I think we both have, an ADHD kind of thing that sort of probably stemmed out of our childhood. Who knows? But I think the most pressing question that I have for you, the thing that I'm most curious about is what, if anything, having a father who was convicted of a crime like this, what does that do to your identity as an individual and especially as a daughter?
I think personally, because I can't speak for everybody that something like this happens to, but I mean, for me, I wasn't a daughter anymore for a really long time to anybody except for my mom. It was just like, poof, he's gone. So it wasn't like, we were heading out for visits and like, big family dues. Like it was, once he was gone, he was gone. So, you just kind of had to roll with the punches, I guess. And
as a 5-year-old, I
don't know what exactly I can say it did to me. But I know that I went through a lot of stages with it, growing up, and, people would ask me stuff like, do you want to see him? And it would vary, honest to God, from month to month, from year to year. And it would be like, yeah, you know what? I'm pissed off and I have questions. And then there'd be days where I would say, no, like obviously he didn't want a family. So why would I want to bother reaching out to him? So it's always been like a bit of a roller coaster of emotions, for lack of a better term, right? It's like, what are you supposed to feel? And, do you forgive somebody after 25 years, after 30 years? Like, at what point am I supposed to let it go, if at all? Yeah. So I still honestly don't know what to do with that.
Is there a part of you that is a little bit afraid that if you do meet up with him one day, are you afraid of forgiving him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
I don't think it would sit well with the rest of my family, and I would completely understand that. And I don't think it would be so much forgiveness. I think it would be like letting go and trying to start fresh if I were going to, but I can't see the scenario where I want to. I can't. My life is going well without the guy. It's if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah, that's really, I find that really interesting because I know from having a son and a daughter that that my son and his mom have a special connection, and myself and my daughter have a special connection. It's not about favorites. It just, and apparently that's really normal, for fathers and daughters to sort of have that special connection. And I would find I feel like if I was in your shoes, I just wouldn't be able to stop myself from attempting the reconnection. And I think it's interesting. It seems like a testament of strength that you're not doing it. And I guess I'm wondering if you have to stop yourself from, like, do you ever feel like you have to stop yourself from reaching out because of the family dynamic? So that would indicate that there is a part of you that might want to.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's for like some type of closure. Like I don't know what I actually want from the guy. Like I don't know if I want him to admit that, like, you know, you were a shitty parent that made shitty choices. Like I don't know what I would want this guy to say to me that was going to make me feel better. But I almost feel like if I did confront him and he let me down, it would just be like, okay, that's par for the course. Now you can actually say goodbye and not worry about it. So maybe that is something I need to do.
It must have been really strange over the years. Like as you get to, you graduate grade 8 and then graduate high school and everything. I mean, he must come to mind a lot, like every milestone that you have. I'm having a hard time right now. I'm going to put all my cards on the table here. I'm having a hard time right now trying to formulate the right questions here because I don't want to try to make it seem like I'm trying to purposely elicit some sort of emotional reaction, because I think you know me well enough to know that I'm just trying to be as straight up as I can.
So you can try.
No, I don't want to try. I am personalizing it, and because I don't know how else to handle it, you know.
Absolutely.
And what it does to a person's mind, is there like a silver lining to any of this, or is that just me trying to wax poetic a little bit?
Yeah, no, I don't think there is. I think that my entire family from that point on, nothing good happened. No.
Really?
Nothing. No, absolutely not. No, it's been there's like a children's book series. It's called a series of unfortunate events. You could take the title off of that and totally put it on my life. And
that has to do with what? Like your mother, finding somebody else and it not working out. Like what are some of the examples?
Yeah, there was definitely a couple of those.
Yeah.
That didn't go well. So we ended up having to move. We lost the house that we were living in because my mother was actually a stay-at-home mom, which I guess is like a lot easier when somebody's selling drugs, shooting people, right? Like, whoop.
Yeah.
I didn't know that we were like the Hamilton Sopranos or something. So apparently we were doing better than I knew. At some point we had a boat. I don't know.
Did he ever have a real job? Like, was he a carpenter or something?
Not that I know of. Like, I don't... Did you say, was he a carpenter?
Well, because I watched a clip from an old CBC episode where your dad was in it. They were showing what life was like in a medium security prison. Mm-hmm. And he was like building office furniture.
I was going to say, he certainly wasn't a chef. Did you see that part?
I only saw the bagels pop up from the toaster.
Oh, man. No, there's a whole scene where they don't like what's for dinner. So they round up a few of the guys, pick some stuff from the garden, and they make their own spaghetti sauce and pasta, and then they have their own little prisoner picnic together because they didn't like what was on the menu that night. Like, that must be nice. Nice.
Yeah, that's like Goodfellas.
They got a baseball team up there too. It's going well.
Well, a medium security prison in Canada doesn't seem all that bad. Like, I mean, it doesn't. I don't want to like make it seem like. Listen, I actually my whole life I always thought that like if they know that rape happens in prisons, why did they allow it to happen? I was always kind of like that. Like, I was never the guy that was like. Mm-hmm. Well, if you go to prison, Bubba's going to rip you in the shower and that's your problem. I was like, no. You can't like go to jail and then have the worst things in the world happen to you while you're in prison, because then you're going to come out, if you do, much worse.
Yeah, that's not how you like rehabilitate a person, right?
Right. So do you agree with the medium security sort of like benefits?
I don't know.
That they have?
They let him out, so he must have done okay.
When did they let him out?
So once they let you out, you have a year of probation where you've got to kind of like, live normally and check in after work, and you have a curfew, and like a probation officer keeps an eye on you. And I think maybe like a family member might even be responsible for you to some degree. He's got a sister that
Like a
still
surety?
cares for some reason. Yeah, that's probably a better word than I'm coming up with. So that would have been, I guess, May of 2021. And then May of 2022, I believe, we were completely free. So he's just like out and doing whatever he does now.
And he lives relatively close to you, doesn't he?
Yeah, oh, totally. Yeah, he's near London, Ontario, and I'm near Hamilton. So it's...
Like an hour?
It's
something like that?
Yeah, it's doable. It's a drivable distance.
So, what would you do if he reached out and wanted to see you? Like, I mean, I get that your family probably wouldn't appreciate you announcing to them that you're going to go seek him out. But if it was the opposite, what would you do?
I'd probably just keep it to myself and maybe find the time. I'd maybe find the time.
Do you think he's redeemable? Now, I asked that question because I've used that phrase with my ex, who never could seem to like tell me that I couldn't, be forgiven for anything. But this is obviously a more important context.
Maybe for somebody else, but not for my family.
No,
it's too far past that, so that's not going to happen with us, unfortunately. It definitely never as a group. My grandfather's almost 80. I think if he saw me, he would kill him, like on site, or try at least. So no, not to us. Even if I were to, like I said, talk to the guy, I think it would just be to see what I could get. And I think I'd maybe feel bad shutting him down fast. I don't know. That's a tough one. So
yeah.
Like I said, I like to give most people a chance, and it's been a really long time since we talked, like a really long time. We managed to have like a phone conversation for maybe a half an hour when I was in the 8th grade, and it was super awkward. Awkward. And this is just how I know that he's a strange guy that'll do what he can to get by. I guess they have religious services that come to the prison because, got to be able to exercise your faith. We were never a religious family. Like, we were never raised with anything in the house. It was just kind of free. My grandmother was a Jehovah's Witness, so I think we were just kind of like steering hard away from religion in general.
Yeah, I don't know how. It seems to me that it takes like an enormous amount of strength to kind of put yourself in a spot where you can't allow yourself to get hurt again. And
that's why we're not gonna be best friends ever. Like we're never gonna have like that bi-monthly coffee date or anything like that. Like, that's not happening.
Is it weird that I, for some reason, am identifying more with your dad than with you right now? And I don't mean that in a funny way at all. Like, I'm thinking of my daughter, and I'm thinking of if I did something that was just so unbelievably awful, would my daughter ever forgive me? And it's like I'm sitting here and my heart is slowly breaking, thinking of the idea that she wouldn't forgive me for doing something awful. And then at the same time, I feel selfish for thinking like that because it's not up to me to be forgiven if I did something that awful. Right?
Well, so I think if you worked every day and really tried to kind of get that back, that there might be something into it. But if you decide to join the Wiccan High Priestess at your church, and start casting spells with her,
yeah.
I'm not against that, but I just know that it's not genuinely something that he would have believed in, knowing who he is. And it was one of those things where I couldn't help but feel like he had found somebody that was maybe really, really kind and vulnerable that was coming in there to provide a service, and was abusing that in some way because he had this person try to find me.
Oh, really?
And I was 14 years old using MSN still because like MSN was the bomb. And this random person adds me, and I'm 14 and just like full of pep. So I was like, yeah, who are you? And I was freaked right out. It was somebody telling me that they knew my dad, and I was like, I'm going to punch you out. Because I was a teenager, right? So I was like, you want to fight? Like, what is this? I thought somebody was screwing with me. And it was like, no, I perform church services, like Wiccan services with your father, and he wants to talk. So she like set us up on a 3-way call. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll totally take this weird phone call. And the guy didn't have much to say, honestly. Like, it was kind of sad. So
He was in prison at the time, though, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Really echoey phone calls. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking it's weird. If you try to put yourself in your shoes, it becomes an exercise of just wondering. Like, is he a sociopath, or is he on the road of redemption? Oh, he's like a clinical sociopath?
Well, and this is the thing. I don't think you can diagnose that. Honestly, I don't. But I think that there's only so many times that you can like lie and lie and lie while you have a family and you have an entire life going on, right? And it's just like, eventually people have got to wonder who the hell you even are anymore. So
did your mom know what he was doing?
I don't know.
That's not a question you've ever asked her that question?
Well, I have, and of course I'm told that, like, no, but the older I get, the more I wonder how you could have that in your house and not know.
Yeah.
Like, if that were going on with Ryan, I feel like I'd have a pretty good idea.
Oh, who knows what Ryan's up to when he goes and waters the garden. You know, could have a couple of dime bags in his front pocket.
There's so many windows here. I can see him. It's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we're good.
Have you ever met anyone that's also been the child of a person who has been convicted of something like that?
No.
It's a very unique spot, isn't it? Like,
it's kind of weird, yeah. And I have, like, I don't know, every now and then I'll have somebody that like might have known about it from the past or something, and maybe you're hanging out with a group of people for the night and somebody will say, hey, and the minute they start the sentence with like, if you don't want to answer, it's okay, but, and I'll know like that's what you're going into, and I'm always like, yeah, no, I don't mind telling you, like, if you really want to know, I get it. It's probably been eating you for the last 25 years since elementary school, because it was in the papers, but we weren't the age that we would be reading the newspaper. But their parents were, and the parents were telling the kids that I was going to school with what was going on with my family. So it was...
Oh, so you had like blowback at school.
Oh, God, yeah. There was some schoolyard shit. People didn't want to come near me.
Like, what were some of the things that they would say?
Just like, your dad is a murderer, your dad killed people, your dad is in the paper because he's a murderer, my mom told me, shit like that. And when you're like, 7, that shit stings, right? I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty rough. And like, I didn't even fully know what was going on. Like, I had been shielded from all of the actual information. My mom was keeping the case away from me. I just knew my dad was gone. I didn't know why. So I pretty much found out by getting made fun of at school, which was rough. And they used to, I don't know if they still do it, but they would give kids like agendas, and it would be like, every day of the week, and if you pissed your teacher off or you screwed something up, it would be like, okay, I wrote a note in your agenda, you've got to take that home to your mom or dad, in my case it was always your mother, and have them sign it and return it to me so I know that they've read it. And it's like burned into my brain from, I think it's grade 3. I had my teacher write in my agenda, Ashley received some unkind teasing about her father today. And I thought that was very politely worded. Thank you, Mrs. Park.
Oh, wow. I love how you remember her name.
Yeah, she was lovely.
Do you remember all your elementary school teachers' name? Because I do. It's like the greatest time of my life.
Yeah, I had a great elementary school. Our kindergarten teacher loved us so much that she followed us to grade 1 and 2 as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She
So I
followed
had her
you. What is
for
it? Oh, you had
like
her for all three?
she taught all of our grades. Yeah, she came up with us. She was like, "No, I love this group of kids. I want to see them through as far as I can." Great
Yeah,
woman.
my junior kindergarten teacher passed away about a decade ago, and the outpouring for her was amazing. She used to dress up. She was kind of a big lady. And she used to dress up as Miss Piggy. She used to have Miss Piggy nose and a big high voice. And she'd be like, "Hello, children," and like we all loved her and would hug her. And when she, yeah, go ahead.
Go for it.
No, I was just gonna say when she passed away, there were so many kids that are now adults that like had good memories of her. And you know what? When you're going through something like you went through, holy shit, do good teachers become super important.
And I think that's why that particular school really stood out for me, because once I went to another school, which was pretty damn fast after everything happened, nobody knew unless I told them, and my teacher certainly didn't have a clue, right? So I moved to a completely different neighborhood. I actually continued moving on down. I went from down the mountain in Hamilton. Just didn't stop. So, that role just kept going downhill. It was great. And, yeah, it was a few years later, and we ended up moving back up the mountain. And it was absolutely brutal because I had gotten away from all of those kids that knew what had happened to me. And then I had to go to high school with all of them because I ended up moving to the exact same neighborhood we had left. So it was like, "Oh my God, is that you?" And it was like, "Yeah, I'm back. Hi, this is great. Y'all are still here."
Yeah, and high school is awful. See, the difference between elementary school and high school is just profound. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was already a freak in high school, so I really didn't care.
Yeah.
It was just like, whatever.
Ashley, I'm going to kick you out like entirely and then have you come back in yet. I don't know if you're frozen to anyone else, but it's driving me crazy that you're frozen on my screen. So if you don't mind, I'm going to do that for really quickly. Just click the link again, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Ashley will come right back. I have no idea if she was frozen for anyone else, but she was completely frozen for me for like the last 15 minutes, and it was driving me completely insane. But this, the high school thing is the part that I'm like really, I'm gonna ask Ashley about when she comes back, because high school is one of those places where everything is allowed. Everything that's awful is allowed. Sexism and racism and bullying and all these things in high school are just omnipresent when you don't have that kind of family history that Ashley had. Welcome back, Ashley. And I was just thinking when you said that you were already a freak in high school. I get that. I think I was probably a certain type of freak in high school. Mm-hmm. And then when you add that on top of it, there's a little, it's funny because the sting that you felt when you were 7 from the teasing comments, it feels like the end of the world, especially when you're 7. Mm-hmm. When you get to high school and you become a little bit of a freak, you have a little bit more of a tendency probably to bite back a little bit. And and I was wondering, can you give me an idea of what, some of those circumstances led to as far as the way that you reacted to that shit in high school?
Honestly, it didn't come up as much in high school, and I think it was damaging to the point where people were, and I don't want to say like afraid of me, but like intimidated by me to maybe a certain degree, because it was like, "Oh yeah, that's the chick whose dad killed somebody, and then she moved away, and now she's back. And she's a freak." Like it was like, oh shit. Like I was just checking all the boxes, you know what I mean? So it was like, yeah, she's back, and she's not looking so hot, guys. Like she's not all preppy and cute or anything. So
were you goth? Did you go the goth way or something? Or
it was like a weird combination of things. Like I love like a little bit of everything. So you could have caught me in just about like any band T-shirt humanly possible, or like a Lucky Charms T-shirt, something ridiculous. Yeah, absolutely. I probably owned it at some point.
Yeah,
love me some Smashing Pumpkins and shit like that. So yeah. I was a very like alternative kid through high school for the most part.
I can easily imagine myself and pretty much any guy I knew having moments in high school where I would almost use that history as almost like not a weapon, but almost as like to give me a little bit more mystique. I know that sounds ridiculous, but do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, oh, absolutely.
Maybe you don't want to fuck with me. Maybe that's right. Maybe you should look away because of what my father did. That kind of shit. Yeah,
right. I'm counting the days down until he gets out. He's got your number.
That's right. My dad doesn't mind going back to prison, Johnny. you know?
Right. And I was going to say, it's not one of those things I used against like guys I was dating either. It wasn't like, yeah, well, when my dad gets out or anything creepy like that. I was like, yeah, no, don't worry about that guy. He's really far away. He's not coming out anytime soon. It's more like that.
This isn't a question that I cleared, but I think you'd be fine with me asking. I'm hoping that you'll be fine with me asking. But have you ever talked about this with any counselor or anything? And if so, what is the kind of guidance that they try to give you about it?
No. When we were kids, nothing happened. That was it. So now that I'm an adult, I've got to kind of slowly backtrack through some things, and I'm actually not quite there yet.
How old are you, Ashley?
32.
Okay, you're still a youngin, as far as I'm concerned.
Ish.
Yeah.
Ish.
So So what you're saying
slowly.
is that you think that you were eventually going to have to deal with it?
Eventually, yeah, I think so.
What does that mean? Because I have had like many people tell me, sometimes not in very pleasant ways, that I don't know, 4 or 5 extraordinarily traumatic things that I've experienced in my life when I was a kid, that I'm going to have to quote unquote deal with it.
Well,
I don't know what
mean,
that means.
It depends on if it's affecting you or not, to any degree. Like how.
Pretty sure it's.
Oh, you're affected? Yeah, feeling pretty affected, bud.
No, yeah, maybe I'm feeling a little bit affected. No, but like the impact. I don't know if it's like, I know that I have that, especially over the last. Listen, I've had issues my whole life, and it feels like every time I've tried to climb out of the issues, these new things prop up. And then all these things start happening at once. And it's funny the way that you can be plunged right back to being a scared child. Like when my ex used to berate me, I was literally like transported back to being a child in the way that I responded to it, in the way that it upset me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it seems ambiguous when someone says, oh, you haven't dealt with that thing yet. And I'm like, well, how do you know that thing has anything to do with my reaction to this thing as an adult? Like, I am not convinced, I guess, of the benefits of dealing with something. I don't even know what dealing with means,
Well, any childhood trauma has an effect on you as an adult. Like, no matter how, like, tough you want to feel about it, there's something there from it. And it might not bother you on a regular basis, but things trigger things at times, like being berated by somebody, right? It's like all of a sudden you're, oh my God. And like you said, a scared child again. So there's, like when I have gone to counseling and I have spoken to somebody, for the most part, it's been about my mother so far. And I don't know. It's difficult to explain. Like I said, you've got to kind of start somewhere and work your way back. But I mean, when I used to get into arguments with her and we would be upset with each other, I would get really upset. And I mean really upset. Like it would affect me for days on end. Her, my brother, it would just be like this massive spiral, and it was all anybody around me would hear about, and I would be like, I can't believe this and I can't believe that, and I would rehash the same shit over and over and over again in my head. And I talked to somebody about some of the issues that I was having, and they just kind of validated, like, yeah, you're not insane. Like, this person totally, like, gaslights you and pulls some weird, like, narcissistic bullshit. So protect yourself however you need to. And I started putting up some boundaries and knowing how I felt and what was right. And even if somebody else doesn't think it's right for me, and I've decided it. So now when somebody, like my mother, attempts to walk into my life and shake things up or upset me in some way, I'm fine. Like it's literally happening right now, and I'm not upset. I'm annoyed, but I don't feel like crying or shaking, or you know what I mean? Like it's. Do
you
cool.
internalize it, or do you just are at the point right now where it bounces off you?
I just know better now.
Can you teach me that?
Yeah, like I'm more confident in myself and in my decisions, and I know that what I want for me is right. I'm an adult. I'm sorry if somebody else doesn't agree with it, but I'm not hurting anybody. And that's how I'm gonna live.
I think that's commendable. And I think that it is the type of armor that is probably the best kind to have as you traverse this life as you get older. Would it surprise you? And I'm going to figure out a way to word this, because would it surprise you to know that I would trade for fathers with you? And the reason why I ask that is because there are certain things I don't really talk about, and I'm probably not going to expand on it on this podcast, but there are certain things, let's just say, that an adult can do to a child directly and physically, that that feels unforgivable, right? And
Absolutely.
I'm just wondering if because the offense wasn't actually done to you directly, and I know that there's so many indirect things that he did. I'm circling back to my first question in a way about redemption, and about if you've ever thought of whether or not you would be saying no to someone who may genuinely, want forgiveness. Like, I don't know. I know it's redundant now, but I was only contrasting it with my own parent because he, first of all, he's dead, and I had sort of mourned him for decades before that because the father that I thought existed didn't exist, and he was never in jail. So I'm just, there's so many different types of characteristics that a bad dad can have, that a bad father can do.
And like I gotta say, like I wasn't ever physically harmed by my father in any way, so I can't say that he hurt me that way.
But he set your family on a trajectory that seemed to be very damaging.
Yeah, and maybe because I am only a small piece of that puzzle, there's I don't know, that potential for forgiveness, not forgiveness, but for that chance. And it's not there for others in my family just because maybe they were affected differently. Like they were older when it happened. So I understand that it's like your life exploded and you basically just had to kind of pull me along with you. And then I found out later and got to deal with it later in different ways. Right. So I don't know. Like, I think it's different for all of us. Really, what we decide to do with these people that have screwed with us in different ways. And like on, what you said, I guess I probably wouldn't trade you fathers, and that sucks. Because like, I would love to take that away for you, of course, but I think I would rather know that he's somewhere that he at least can't hurt me anymore.
Okay. I don't know what happened there. Ashley, you there? There you are.
Yeah, you froze on me, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, you're the host now. Get over there.
I want my name back.
Sorry, I didn't get the answer after the like you said that you wouldn't trade dads with me. I don't know if that's where you stopped or not.
No, I was just saying, I wasn't hurt in that way. So I can't say like I would trade you because like at least I know that mine was somewhere that he couldn't do it again to anybody. He was in a good spot.
It's interesting, right? Because sometimes it's kind of a mind fuck. Where I think to myself, if my father's actions and and the things that he did to me, did they shape my personality? And if so, how? Like, is my sense of humor impacted by that? Is my like drive to be something better than I am? Is it motivated by that? It's funny. There's this joke that I have, and I think I stole it from the Family Guy, but about how, you don't. This is gonna sound awful, but I'm gonna say it anyways. You don't credit a woman's molester for her being good in bed when she's an adult, even though he probably had something to do with it. Okay, I know that sounds awful, but do you know what I mean? Like we create these like identities sometimes that that is a direct result of how we are dealing with circumstances that happened to us when we were young.
Oh, absolutely. I would not be funny if this didn't happen. I wouldn't be.
And you were so funny.
I thank you.
Isn't that weird? I wish you weren't funny.
I know. I would love to be well adjusted, but this is what it is. I say terrible shit. It's great. And I don't think I'd want to change me now. I mean, it's happened. I came out of it okay. If I changed it now, a whole bunch of other shit would change. So it's like, you hear, it turned out okay. You know, you've just got to figure out if you're willing to forgive somebody like that, and probably in a professional setting. Like I'd probably need to like really like rake this one out a few times with somebody. I need the brain unraveling. I need somebody to do that for me. But
well,
at
maybe
least
this
he
is a
doesn't
start.
like call or try to piss me off. You know what I mean? Well, I said that to somebody today. I said, I'm having a version of free therapy tonight. It's going to be great. I'm just going to say some stuff.
Jeez, you fucking didn't luck out with your therapist. I'll tell you that much. Jesus Christ.
Sorry, bud.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I mean, yeah, I'm sorry.
I think
sorry you
I
got stuck
honestly,
with
I think
this.
I've freaked a couple counselors out, to be perfectly honest. They're like, holy shit, all of that? I'm like, but wait, there's more. Like,
Yeah.
I've
Oh, yeah.
I've had awful stepdads too. You want to do that one?
Oh, have you?
Just-
I've
it
been in
doesn't
that
end.
position, dude. I totally understand exactly what you mean. I've gone to counselors before where it's like the fourth session. I was like, oh right, that thing that my dad did. I didn't mention that yet. Sorry, but it's like we've been here for 8 hours total.
Yeah,
so
right.
far.
And they're
How
like,
did you not mention that?
holy shit. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
just like, okay, let me get the notepad out again. Like that. Whoa, you came out of left field with that one. You've got to slow dig to stuff like that, right? And I get it. Like, they usually want to talk about how you're feeling, you know, your anxiety, your day to day, and it's like, okay, the first session always sucks, but yeah, after that, I think I've wrecked a few people.
Oh well, good.
There's
Maybe
one
they
guy,
need
I
therapy
think-
because of you.
I think there's like one guy that's like a barista now or something. It's like, yeah, that girl messed me up.
See, that's funny.
See, right.
Like,
Thank you.
It's funny. Like it's an example. Your sense of humor is evidence of a person that didn't allow that to actually define you. You know, it's impacted you for sure, but
Yeah.
I think that the evidence of a strong, independent Ashley is the sense of humor and the ability to basically call it for what it is and to talk about this openly, even if you haven't done it like this before. You know,
I haven't, but I know I think you were a little surprised that I was like, yeah, no, go for it. Like, ask whatever. But like, it's long scabbed over and healed and scarred, and it's good. Like, you can't really get in there. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, you can't really hurt me with that at this point.
oh, but no one wants to hurt you with it.
Even
Like,
accidentally, though. I mean,
yeah. Can I just say that, like, I don't see a resemblance, and that's not me trying to take a side or anything, but I kind of don't. But I'm told that you do, though, right? Like, isn't your old pictures from when you were a kid and his face kind of similar?
I feel like that's definitely my nose, and I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I know that maybe it's the more female version of that nose, but we share some stuff. I've got cuter ears though.
Yeah.
And that tattoo on his arm has my mother's name on it. I hope that's going well.
Oh really?
Yeah, it says Kim. It's butterfly.
Yeah. Listen. Let's end it there because I think I would love to like continue this conversation. But I think that I think that what I would rather do is know that we can end this conversation knowing that it didn't go to a place that was uncomfortable for you. Really?
Oh no, yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
I'm
Was
very
it everything you hoped it would be?
happy. And then some.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a great day.
Listen, thank you so much. I know that probably wasn't easy. Seriously.
It wasn't hard either.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming. Thank you so much. I feel privileged for being the person that you talk to about this, and I'll probably give you a call when I go off air. Just make sure.
Yeah,
that
for sure. Like I said, I appreciate the chance to yell at somewhere. It's nice.
Yeah, that's great. Ashley, thanks, love. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
That was Ashley Lindley. That was what adjective would I use to describe that? Moving, I would say, for me. You may have noticed that Ashley, even though Ashley and I know each other, we tap danced a little there as both of us tried to navigate what it was that we were trying to sort of uncover about that situation. And it's weird knowing that I have some things in common with her, not the main thing of the crimes that her dad committed, but just the way that stress and trauma can sort of shape us. But I am completely thankful that she even agreed to do it. And it's funny, if I walk away from a podcast where I can say that the guest allowed me to learn something about myself, then how can I say it wasn't a fruitful podcast? So and all credit goes to Ashley. So thank you, Ashley Lindley, once again for coming on the show. I am super grateful that we were able to have that conversation. And listen, tomorrow, Outside Shot, there's a podcast at around 7:00, but I'm not sure. I'll be on the road tomorrow. And then we have more Plymouth Brethren people coming up. And then Ryan Jesperson on August 2nd will be on the show. So that'll be cool. He's a 20-year TV guy who has just launched his own podcast. And so that should be fun. Until then, we'll see you next time on Blackballed. Thanks, everybody.
Blackballed. Blackballed. Blackballed.